field of the AI is not new. The only thing is, okay, this is there since several years, right? As I mentioned, right? When we talked about the history, as I mentioned, these are there since several years. But then why it didn't take a boom? It didn't take a boom because of also restrictions with high performance computing, all these kind of things, right? But now we don't have any such restrictions, right? We have a lot of resources available, right? So that is the reason, like nowadays this is booming drastically, right? The field of AI ML is booming drastically, right? And I'm sure like each of you, like as I said, whatever domain we are working in, so we cannot get away with these AI and machine learning techniques, right? So I have colleagues like who are with climate sciences department, right? Do you think somebody from climate sciences will apply these things? Yes or no? Even from climate sciences, so when I talk to them, they are basically doing analytics of data and all these things to predict cyclones, to do all these things, right? Even there, of course, there is vast amount of data. They analyze the data to predict cyclones, all these things, right? So whatever may be the field, even the mechanics people, they are also like applying. So trend is moving towards collecting data, analyzing data, right? You cannot get away with these things, right? So I have few other things, but then I think we don't have. How much time do we have, sir? So maybe I think, okay, I will not take up much time. I think I gave a few insights to you regarding AI and data science. So I thought I'll talk about some of the works that we are doing. So I think I will not take much time on this. So we are mainly working on approaches for verifying systems, okay? How do we actually verify the safety measures of the system when the system is actually executing, right? So we call them as runtime monitoring techniques. We are working on these monitoring frameworks, monitoring approaches. And now our focus is also on how we can combine our monitoring approaches with different, artificial intelligence and machine learning techniques. And we are mainly focusing on different domains like healthcare, right? Healthcare and medical devices is one of the domains that we are focusing on, right? So I think due to time restrictions, I think we will not talk much about it, but I think I'll just show you a few examples of the things that we are doing, right? I think I'll not discuss much about these aspects, but I'll directly go into showing, some of the applications that we are currently working on, right? So how many of you know what a pacemaker is? How many of you have heard what a pacemaker is? Okay, what is a pacemaker? Okay, so pacemaker, I think, is a medical device, right? So that is, so there are different kind of abnormalities with functioning of heart, right? So pacemaker is a medical device that is used to correct the heart rhythm, right? If our heart is not functioning in a proper rhythm, these artificial pacemakers, the pacemakers are used, which is a system to correct the heart rhythm, right? So when the heart is not beating at the right time, it induces these artificial impulses, right? So what we are actually looking at, so we are basically, when we talk about these kind of medical devices, right? So this is an implantable medical device. So as we all can understand, right, whenever like some person should be implanted with a pacemaker, the surgeon should cut open, right? They should cut open and then they should insert the pacemaker, right? It is like implanted, right? So now when some parameter of the pacemaker has to be changed, is it easy to change the parameter of the pacemaker? Let us say they have programmed it and then they have like done a surgery, they have implanted the pacemaker, right? So now if some parameter has to be changed later on, right? If some functioning, some timing parameter has to be changed, then is it easy for them to do it? So in order to make that feasible, right? So now it shouldn't be the case that, okay, when some parameter has to be changed, it shouldn't be the case that the doctor should again do a surgery and then remove the pacemaker, right? Without that, they should be able to change the required parameters, right? So for that purpose, these kind of devices are also like equipped with sort of wireless communication features, right? Such that a doctor can, after implanting, a doctor can still, doctor will still be able to update some parameters depending on the need, right? Through wireless communication features, they can connect with the pacemaker and then they can update some parameters, right? But then whenever, now, okay, now so far we have discussed about AI and ML, right? Now I am moving in the direction of security. You will also be dealing with different issues related to security, right? So whenever these kind of devices are enabled with wireless access, there is always a scope for, you know, the security related concerns, right? So there are a lot of cases reported in the US and different places in the world where an attacker or somebody who is trying to cause harm to the person with the pacemaker implanted, right? They can actually gain access to the pacemaker and they can change the parameters. So does it sound normal or does it sound scary? It is very scary, right? But those kind of security issues were reported. And certain variants of pacemakers were also recalled. After implanting, they were recalled and so on, right? Due to the security concerns, right? So what did we actually do? Of course, without going into details, I'll just mention on what we actually worked on, right? So what we actually worked on is, so when we take into account this heart pacemaker, right? The heart pacemaker is our system that works in a closed loop manner, right? The heart and pacemaker, they work continuously together as the heart, right? Once it is implanted, right? So now how can we sort of detect any sort of security issue within a pacemaker without communicating with the pacemaker device, right? Is it actually possible? So it is indeed possible. So how can we actually like measure the rhythm of the heart? What is used to measure the rhythm of the heart? So how will a doctor say, like, what is the preliminary test a doctor does when you go with some sort of discomfort with heart and so on? What do the doctors do? What does a doctor measure? Or what does he ask for? Somebody said yes, no. Stethoscope, and then of course if we want to examine something further, what will he ask for? He or she will ask for ECG, right? So they will ask, okay, we need to take your ECG and we need to examine it, right? So why do they ask for an ECG? Because the heart rhythm, how the heart is functioning, can be assessed from the ECG signal, right? The different peaks from the ECG signal, they will be able to say whether there is some abnormality or whether it is functioning as appropriate, right? So even though the heart has some abnormality, when the pacemaker is fixed, the rhythm that we get through an ECG should be normal, yes or no? After fixing the pacemaker, it should correct the rhythm, right? So once it is done, the ECG measured should be normal, right? Yes? So now if some attacker actually tries to communicate with the device and if they change some parameters, what will be observed in the ECG? We'll observe that can be actually recognized in the ECG, right? The pattern in the ECG will completely change if they change some critical parameter. Yes or no? Yes?